Hi guys, so I'm going to do these vocabulary words first and then I'll scroll up and do the reading. Okay, so the vocabulary we're going to come across in this is tyrant. A tyrant is someone who is cruel and unfair, a ruler who is cruel and unfair, so someone who's not very nice. Mandate of heaven is an ancient Chinese belief that monarchs receive their power to rule from heaven. Okay, so the monarch is the person in charge and they believe that their power came from heaven. The aristocracy is a form of government in which power is held by a small group of privileged individuals. Okay, we're going to scroll up to the top and read this. This is document A textbook. Qin Shi Huang imposed a new order on China. He ended the power of the local lords by taking land from many of them and imposing a tax on landowners. He appointed educated men instead of nobles as officials to run his government. All right, so Qin Shi Huang, he changed things up in China a little bit when he took over. Number one, he took the nobles out of power, and he found people who were educated, who knew what was going on, and they are who ran the government now. Qin even imposed censorship, clamping down on scholars who discussed books and ideas. In 213 BC, he ordered all books burned except those about practical subjects like agriculture, medicine, and magic. In this way, he hoped to break people's ties to the past so they would not criticize the present. About 460 scholars resisted and were executed. Okay, so remember we talked about him before, and he was very harsh. He was a tyrant. He was a harsh leader. It was his no or it was his way or no way. Okay, so he censorship is when you don't allow people to do things or see things, and you censor or monitor what they can see and do. So he had all the books burned that weren't about agriculture, medicine, or magic. Okay, his point of doing this was so that people would not learn about the past, and then they wouldn't be able to compare it to what was going on now. Qin's subjects saw him as a cruel tyrant who lost the mandate of heaven. Nobles were angry because he had destroyed the aristocracy. Scholars detested him for the burning of books, and peasants hated his forced labor gangs. In 210 BC, Qin died, and soon the dynasty itself came to an end. Even so, the rule of the Qin established foundations for the Chinese state that would last for over 2,000 years. All right, so people thought that he was mean. They didn't like him. He changed the way that China was run, okay? They didn't like him for burning the books. They hated the way that he enforced work laws. All right, so when he died, um, his son actually took over, which we talked about last week. So even though people didn't like him and he was considered to be mean, some of the things that he set in place did last in China for over 2,000 years. In 200 BC, Liu Bang overthrew the Qin, a military official from a peasant background. Liu defeated his most powerful rival in 2002 BC and declared himself the emperor of a new dynasty, the Han. The Han governed China until AD 220, more than 400 years. The Han emperors used Qin forms of centralized power, but without the harshness of Qin rule. Okay, so they were overthrown. We talked about this last week too. The Qin was overthrown by a peasant. He was a military peasant, but he overthrew Qin's son and he took power. His name was Liu Bang, and he was not as harsh. He used some of the guidelines that the Qin dynasty had used, but he wasn't as